My name's Jim LoPresti. I'm a senior instructor in the management division, and I teach leadership, management, executive development. I teach MBAs, so both graduate and undergraduates, and also do a little outside consulting on the side. The class will look into how we can learn to function more wholly from a left brain and a right brain perspective, and it looks at different ways of communicating. It looks at setting up a vision that a lot of leaders, whether they do in the beginning or not, remains to be seen, but a lot of them, if they do create a vision for themselves and for their teams, they forget that they have to keep driving that vision forward. What I've done is just amassed the wisdom of leadership that goes back basically about 5,000 years. There's a parable about a professor who went to talk to a Zen master and said, "Teach me about Zen." And he said, "Sure, sit down." And they were having tea. And so the Zen master was pouring tea into the professor's cup, and he continued pouring. It filled up and then started to overflow. So the professor couldn't stand it any longer, and he said, "Okay, the cup is full. No more will go in." And the Zen master looked at him and said, "Just like that cup, you're full of your own opinions and your own ideas of the world. Once you can empty your cup, then I can begin to show you Zen." So it's the same thing. We all come in with our own ideas and perceptions and our own presumptions and opinions. What I try to do is get that perspective larger. We're way too left brain, which is too analytical. And so what I bring in is some of the right brain functions, which is more synthesizing rather than just analyzing. It's seeing the big picture rather than just the details. A lot of managers and leaders are really good at analyzing a situation, but then they revert back to old habits. Right brain functionality tends to say, let's play with this and let's see what options and alternatives are available to us. And if it's something off the wall, your left brain's going to say, "Whoa, we better not go there." But the right brain function says, let's try it. If we fail, fine. We just pick up and do something differently. I'm adding it in another component of emotional intelligence into the peak performance class so that leaders can deal with mistakes with grace and dignity and move on. And when they succeed, they're humble. The former vice president of the Hartford insurance company, this was many years ago, was Wallace Stevens, who was a Pulitzer and Nobel Prize winning poet. He did poetry on the side to keep himself grounded because he was dealing with so much left brain details and analysis and that sort of separating everything out, segregation rather than integration every day. So he said he wrote poetry just to kind of keep him alive, both emotionally and intellectually. Being a manager myself at Lucent and at Sun Microsystems, I found that, yeah, I knew some theory, but when one of my direct reports was sitting across from me and came in, and we're working on a very major project with high visibility, and this is my lead engineer and says to me, "I need the next month off. I know we have a deliverable that's critical in the next week, but my son or my daughter or my wife or my husband was just diagnosed with an illness and I need to be at home with them." And the first thing that can enter my head is, you can't go anywhere. You're my lead engineer. Suppose you were in the same position, what would you do? I'd want somebody to work with me to find someone else that I could train very quickly, and we could figure out alternatives and options that would work for both of us. And a lot of times in corporate situations I've been in the past, it's just, this is the book, this is the policy, this is procedure, and it just doesn't work with people. What I teach in this class, these are skills that transfer. These are skills that transfer to someone who's a husband, who's a wife, who's a father, who's a mother, a son, a daughter, a friend, for that matter. So these, especially the emotional intelligence, you're just not emotionally intelligent at work, and then you go home and you're a complete moron and kick the dog and beat the kids or whatever. The skills that I try to impart to the participants in this class just makes them a better person.